Greetings, everyone, and welcome to episode 52 of Teaching Tales, the podcast totally devoted to sharing stories from the world of education. I am still Brent Coley, your host, elementary principal in beautiful Southern California, where the weather has finally starting to shift into fall. It was like only 78 degrees today, so I'm not complaining, and I'm probably getting myself in trouble with our guest today. I am pleased to get to chat with Sam Fecich. Sam, how are you today?
I'm doing great. I live in Pennsylvania, and it was very rainy today, so a 78 and sunny is spectacular.
I was going to say, whenever I talk with people, it's kind of like, just be quiet, right? You're going to make me upset before you even start. But it was really humid, so it was kind of muggy.
Poor Brent. I feel so bad for you.
It's supposed to rain tomorrow, I will tell everybody. But anyway, so Sam, thank you so much for taking the time. We've tried to schedule. We had to reschedule a couple times. I'm excited about our chat today. But before we get started, for anybody who is not familiar with you and your work, give our listeners a little insight. Who is Sam Fecich?
Wow, that's the question of the hour. So I'm Sam Fecich. I teach Preservice Teachers, undergrads in Grove City, Pennsylvania, which is a little north of Pittsburgh, if you're familiar with that area. Prior to that, I was a special education teacher for 4 years, also in Pennsylvania. And I have the honor of raising up our next generation of teachers. I work with them every day, and it's a fabulous, fabulous job. Love it.
Awesome. Maybe, yeah, it's like teaching. You argue, and not many people will argue against the idea that teachers is the most important job on the planet. And what you're doing is raising up that next generation of teachers. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of be our topic. Every one of our episodes has a topic. And I'm kind of thinking today's topic will be investing in the teachers of tomorrow, because that's what you are doing. And I know very recently you're very obviously passionate about it. This is what you do, but you recently wrote and published a book. Just briefly.
Oh, that's true.
That's right. How about that? Briefly tell us about EduMagic.
Absolutely. Be happy to. So EduMagic is a book that is for pre-service teachers. It helps walk them through how to become educators of excellence while in college. Because so often you hear, I won't need to use that until I'm a teacher, or nobody cares what I have to say. I don't have any experience. I'm just a pre-service teacher. And you are never just a pre-service teacher. You're a professional educator. So you walk in that 8 a.m. classroom Monday morning, your freshman year. You're a professional educator, and you need to, have that mindset shift, because it doesn't start when you walk across graduation. You don't become magically a teacher. You've always been a teacher. So remembering that. But EduMagic stands for something. Love the acronym. My husband was there whenever I figured it out. The light bulb went. I was like, oh my gosh, Josh, look, it stands for something. And it was so cool. But so E is educate and engage. So how can pre-service teachers be approaching their coursework in a different way? Instead of, I need to know this for the test, how can I know this for my students' knowledge, my future students? How can I know this for life, just to be a better educator, and the love for learning? D is for digital presence. So owning that digital presence now and early as a pre-service teacher, harnessing that through a digital portfolio, Googling, social media, those types of things. That wasn't around whenever I was an undergraduate student. U is unite your PLN. So getting connected to educators out there that are rocking it. So teachers and admins. So getting your tribe together early in your pre-service teacher career, because you're not always going to have your friends down the hall or your roommate to bounce ideas off of. So getting that global connection early. M is for megapixels, and that's what my dad calls sprinkles. So adding some jazzing up of your lesson plans, not just doing them because you're supposed to do a lesson plan for third grade math, but really jazzing it up for more than just the professor to see. A is for always being, and that's kind of like always be a good human type chapter. So be okay with failing forward, be humble, be gracious, be thankful. Just some great teacher qualities. G is get out, and that's like in 3 different sections. So get out of the classroom. So like go to conferences, go to workshops, go to events. Get out of your comfort zone, try something new. It's okay if you fail, everybody does. Just try something new. And then get out of your regularly scheduled programming. So maybe try some independent studies or go travel abroad or something. Inconceivable. So using technology meaningfully in the classroom, integrating it so it engages students and not just one more thing that you add into your lesson. And then C is, I really like the C chapters, co-op gone virtual. So oftentimes, like when we do field work, every college I feel is restricted by their geographic location. You can only go so far in a day to travel to a classroom and back and for your classes and things like that. But opening up the co-op experience to teachers from around the world and learning from them, I think is so powerful. And it helps with students with their networking. It helps give them authentic work that they're doing in the classroom. So it's a really fun book. And all throughout it is sprinkled in stories from pre-service teachers that hopefully will inspire and encourage others to be amazing.
Gosh, I love it. I'm jotting down notes as you're.
I got a little nervous.
Yeah, no, you did well too. I'm thinking like you remembered all the acronym. I mean, no,
hey, it's like I wrote the book.
It's like you wrote the book or something. But this isn't just for pre-service teachers though. I'm jotting this down and I'm thinking this is something. I mean, I taught for 15 years before moving into admin. This is something that I'm ready to read, and that I think my teachers can get something out of too. And I just have to touch. I love how you touched on, I'm not just a teacher. I wrote a blog post a few years ago about just is like it's a 4-letter word. And because by definition, when you put just in front of something, by definition, you are minimizing what comes next. So if you say I'm just a teacher, you're saying the teacher's not that big a deal. Or you hear a lot, I'm just an aide. Mm-hmm. I'm just an instructional aide. I'm not the teacher. I'm just an aide. No. You're just teaching in a different capacity. So I love that. I just had to put that in there. So, and I like too how I was thinking that, because now how is it? Because in California, so is the teacher preparation program, is that part of kind of is the credential combined with the undergraduate degree back there?
Back here in Pennsylvania, yes.
Right. I mean, because in California it's separate. We've got like you do an undergraduate degree, and then you would go back for a credential.
No,
you could have your certification. Yeah,
the certification and the undergrad are combined. So like students can get certified pre-K4, pre-K4 special ed, or pre-K8 special ed with elementary. We have middle level certification and then secondary.
That's awesome. See, that makes more sense if you know what you're wanting to do, because out here in California, you can have a degree in anything and then go back to get a multiple subject teaching credential or a single subject for high school. But it does make more sense to me that to start, like you said, what your book is about, start focusing on learning how to do this stuff now. Because if you wait until student teaching or something like that, you're kind of behind the 8 ball. I mean, one of the most important things I remember learning in my undergraduate degree, I was a child development major, so I was taking classes that were having to do they were going toward what I wanted to do. But it was a PE class. It was a like how to teach PE class. And one of the most, it's a small thing, but it's actually something I've never forgotten, and I use it literally every single day. It's never have your students look in the sun. The teacher, because we were outside all the time, because we were doing a lot of kinesthetic activities, and she said one of the if you remember nothing else from what I'm telling you, when you are outside with students, and I now do it with adults in the front of the school in the morning when people are being dropped off, she said never have your students look in the sun. You always have to know where is the sun and position yourself so that you've got the sunglasses on, your kids don't. You look into the sun, because if your kids are looking into the sun, they're squinting and they're more focused on, oh my gosh, that sun is bright, than whatever it is that you're saying. But that's not something that happened a few years before I, like you said, officially became a teacher. So anyone listening, if you take nothing from this podcast, Never have your students look in the sun. And again, I always do that with parents. If I'm talking with somebody out front, where's the sun? Hey, let me go ahead and turn around. Not to mention, it shows whoever you're talking to, you're aware of something like
Right.
that. So,
Right.
and just an invaluable piece of advice. I don't even remember the professor's name, but I remember that.
Remember
And I
that.
literally used it every single day of my career. Every time
That's
I'm.
great. It just goes to show you never know what impact you have on somebody. You
Mhm.
know, what you say, what you do, you're going to have an impact. And you may never know that.
Yeah. So the title of this podcast is called Teaching Tales. It's stories. And you said in your book, you're telling stories, and
Yep.
people learn through stories. Do you have a story or two to share from maybe some of your pre-service teachers, or maybe something that's impacted you when you were getting certified?
Sure. So there's a whole bunch of stories in each of the chapters, but one of my favorites is from the Unite Your PLN chapter, and it's from a former student, current friend, Hannah Turk, who she was my teaching assistant for 2 years. She was taking my class, and before the class started, it was going to be an online class. So I wanted to meet with everybody face to face first to show them the ropes of, how to use different things before we all went off for winter break to have our online class. So everyone's sitting around the table, everyone's quiet with their hands folded, not really hands folded, but and Hannah comes in and was like, if you get me to like Twitter, that would be a miracle. Okay, so mind you, I was like my first semester teaching, and I was like, oh no. I was so nervous. So it kind of broke the ice for everybody because I was like, what? What's all this about? So the class goes on online, everything goes fine. Hannah, delves a little bit into Twitter. It's like, okay, it's all right, I guess. Um, Fast forward a couple months later, back in spring semester, she starts participating in Twitter chats. Like, oh, this is kind of cool. I'm liking this. She
Wow.
participates in a statewide chat for the state that she would like to be certified in teach in. And she starts getting connections with people from that state, getting the inside scoop on different districts and job openings. So through her connections on Twitter, she was able to apply to 6 jobs in that state and have her choice of which job she wanted because of her connections. And today she is now a co-moderator of NT2T, which is every Saturday morning. So she went from Twitter to, oh my gosh, this is so valuable and amazing. I can't believe I didn't use it for all this time. And this was like during her junior, senior year. So now imagine if Hannah was a freshman and starting to build that network, building those connections and having that, how robust that would be. But she has been, because of her connections on social media with administrators and teachers, she has been to Ed Camp of Department of Education in Washington, D.C. She has done the NT2T chat. She's done a couple of webinars for Kappa Delta Pi, which is a international honorary for education. So she has really, really embraced it and has done amazing things with it. And just so lucky to know her and be like, oh my gosh, I know her. So yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool what one connection can do for you.
Well, and now, I mean, I know that you are active, as am I, on Twitter. Can you imagine doing what you do, your job, without it?
No, I use Twitter every day. Absolutely not. I can't teach without it. I mean, it's my go-to source for ideas, resources, sharing stuff that you find online, asking questions like, hey guys, I'm going to be teaching this. What do you think about this idea? And just a place where you can go and feel supported and encouraged and challenged. It's there's no other place like it.
No, I've said so many times, and people who listen to this more than once, I've said this so many times, I've learned more from Twitter. I signed up in 2009, so just under 10 years. This is year 23 for me in education. I've learned more from Twitter than 23 years of combined organized professional development. And
that's a strong statement.
Yeah, and that's not a shot on the people that I've taken. That just shows how much is out there. I mean, one of our teachers, I mean, your D for in the acronym of starting your digital presence. I love the fact that you're doing that with your undergrad students, because I mean, gosh, we see these horror stories of people who weren't necessarily responsible with their digital presence.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that's what employers are looking at now.
Absolutely.
And I was one of those employers. One of my teachers, she separated herself from all of the other applicants because of her positive digital presence and her website. And when she sent her resume in, she's like, check this out. I mean,
Mhm.
check out. And I was able to go and see all the cool things she was doing with her class on Instagram
Right.
and all the things.
Right.
I mean, and it was like, oh my gosh, this is somebody I need on our staff. Because, I mean, it's because when you have an applicant pool and you're getting 150 applicants in 5 days, you need to separate
Wow.
yourself, and
Right.
that's how you do that. So,
Mhm.
and
Right. You want to have that positive professional presence shown. I mean, putting your portfolio on your resume, maybe through a QR code or having the link there if it's digital, they can just click on it. It's so easy. And it does set you apart. I've had applicants that go in to do like mock teaching interview part of their interview.
yeah,
That was a really weird sentence that I just said. But the assistant superintendent will ask them, like, we'll scroll through their Twitter feed and ask them specific questions about things that they posted or ideas that they had. Oh, tell me more. You posted this thing about using Twitter in your classroom. What are some of the ideas that you have there? So she can pull up her Twitter feed, like, oh, look at all these things that I've done. And the digital portfolio. I always tell my students it's never going to be done. It's always a process and a product at the same time. But the important thing is that it shows your progress throughout your time at college and highlighting the amazing things that you're doing, because pre-service teachers are doing amazing things and they need to showcase them. Just because they don't have 30 years teaching experience doesn't mean they don't have great ideas to share.
no, oh, I love that, and I so many times in going through my Twitter feed, I will see somebody who I do follow who has retweeted somebody who is just. Well, I saw on your Twitter feed today, you had a picture of somebody who is like, hey, it's my first day of.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I mean, it's like,
A field experience.
then number one, that's inspiring, but sometimes it's just as simple as a positive quote, an encouraging message or meme or something like that
Yeah.
a junior in college puts out there. Somebody retweets it, and it's like, oh my gosh, that's fantastic. And the next thing you know, that's my quote of the day on the board that I have in our staff lounge, that I try to put encouraging messages and stuff every single day. And I have teachers ask me all the time, where do you get all those quotes? Twitter. Every single one is on Twitter. Every
That's
single one.
awesome. That's awesome.
So you have another story? Because I'm hooked.
Yeah,
Give me another
absolutely.
story.
Sure. So, in one of the chapters, the Inconceivable chapter, so little shout out to Princess Bride there. If
I
you're
was
like
just gonna
80s,
say,
90s fan,
I don't think that word means what you think it means.
Yeah, and I even write that in there. It's like, I think I got it right, but I don't know. You guys may have to be the judge of this. So,
I don't think it means what you think it means.
I think it means so. So I talk about how using technology meaningfully in the classroom, and one amazing story that a student did this was Katie Gibson. She was student teaching, I believe, it was an elementary placement, fourth or fifth grade. I can't remember exactly which one off the top of my head, but the story that they were doing was Number the Stars. And it's a story about a Holocaust survivor.
Yep.
And so she thought, oh, wouldn't it be great if we could Skype in a Holocaust survivor? Well, yeah, that would be really great. So she reached out to a local place that supported education through that venue. And so she contacted them and like, oh, we just can't get it to work out. So, oh, okay, bummer. So then she contacted someone in Denmark and was able to connect with a Holocaust survivor, had them Skype into these, let's say, fifth grade class live after they read the book. And she was able to ask them questions and engage with these young learners and just bring the story to life. It's so much more real when you hear it from somebody else. So what's really interesting is the survivor had a similar story to the young woman in the book that they were reading. And then the students got to write thank you notes and send them over to her in Denmark. And it went so well that the chair of our education department invited all of the fifth grade from that school to come to our college auditorium and have her Skype in again and do the whole fifth grade now. And so that's pretty amazing. That's meaningful, impactful. That's episodic learning. Students are going to remember that.
Mhm.
And it's such a powerful learning experience. It shows global connections on so many levels. And again, she was connected through social media. She had that fire to just try something new. And because it didn't work the first time, she didn't give up. She was like, oh, that won't work out. Let's just write a letter and, do whatever. No, she persisted. She continued to try different avenues, and it worked out. And it was a beautiful experience for those students. And I'm so glad she was able to do that. So that's another example.
That's like the embodiment.
That's a pre-service teacher.
Come on. I was just going to say the embodiment of the R of the SAMR model. Something previously you could never even have thought of doing that. And as you said, as a pre-service teacher, because I look back, I think back and again, in California, you did your undergraduate degree and then you did a credential program. And you had 2 semesters of student teaching. And in my first one, I remember going in, I was so green, I was Kermit the Frog. I mean, I knew but gosh, I was green. And at the end of that first semester, I remember even in my early 20s thinking, wow, I was green. I've come so far. And then again, at the end of the second semester, looking back at the end of the first and thinking, I thought I'd come a long way then. Like I was still green. Now I've really come. It just not minimizing the impact that people who don't yet have their own classroom can have.
Right. So powerful.
What a great story about that. That Skype call with the Holocaust survivor. You can read the book Number the Stars, and I know of the book. I'm not saying it's a good book, but do you think, somebody going to remember that? Are those fifth graders going to remember, yeah, we read Number the Stars, or are those fifth graders going to remember we talked with a Holocaust survivor? I can't say that.
I can't say that either.
I've never spoken with a Holocaust survivor, and most adults probably cannot say that, but those kids will grow up to be adults who said, I did.
Right.
Wow. Meaning learning doesn't get much more. We talk about rigor, relevance, and engagement. Totally engaged, totally relevant.
Right.
Absolutely amazing. Absolutely.
Yeah, she totally dropped the mic on that one.
Which again, I always try whenever I'm talking with people in these episodes, I was like, what nugget what would be the moral learn? For anybody listening to this, number one, as I'm looking at your acronym again, it's like that get out. Get out of your try something new, right. That whether you've been teaching 10 minutes or 10 years, try something new. Whether it's a Google Hangout. The beautiful thing now is like authors. I read a book, Arnie the Donut. You ever heard of Arnie the Donut?
I haven't. Now I got to go look it up.
It's awesome. It's a picture book of a story about a donut who does not realize that he was made to be eaten.
Oh, poor Arnie.
So yeah, and the whole story goes. I know it's Lori. Now I have to look it up real quickly. Arnie the Donut. It's Lori, because I got to get Lori Keller. When I read that book, I took pictures because I read it. I went around the school and read the book to all of our classes, and some of the teachers were taking pictures, and I put them out on Twitter, and I tagged the author, who responded and said,
"Powerful,
yes." And it's like that's the age in which we live now. That
yes.
Fifth grade teacher, if you're doing Number the Stars, it doesn't have to be a Holocaust survivor. And I don't know if Lois Lowry, I don't know what her, but tag the author. If your kids are making something else, tag the author, because chances are he or she is going to respond to you, because that's how authors, that's like their fan club now. It's right. It's so
absolutely.
So I think that's
cool.
That's a practical way for, if you're on Twitter, and you're doing something with a book or something like that, tag the author.
Yeah, send pictures of what you're doing with your class. Share it wide, share it far.
And talk about how cool would that be to then come back the next day and put that tweet up on the board of when the author responded. Hey, the author who wrote it read what you did, or that artwork you made, she looked at what you did. She read all of your essays. She said, wow, great job, Mr. Coley's class. Keep up the good work. Now they're going to want to continue doing that great work. So.
Right. And it's more than just work that you're doing for your teacher. Now it's global. Now it's being shared with all kinds of people from around the world, which makes it meaningful and impactful. Yeah, it's fabulous.
Yeah. Rushton Hurley, amazing educator. One of his quotes that I always remember is, if your students are sharing their work with you, they want it to be they want it to be good enough. If they're sharing it with the world, they want it to be good.
Mm-hmm. True.
And how often, like, well, how many paragraphs does it have to be? How many sentences does it have to be? If they know the world's going to see it, they want it to be good. And so.
That's more than the grade.
Yep. Oh, amen to that. That'll be an episode on it for a different topic to talk about.
Yeah.
But Sam, thank you so much for taking the time. I really, really appreciate it. So
thank you. I'm honored to be on Teaching Tales, and I have to say, it reminds me of DuckTales every time I hear the title. I hear DuckTales.
And even the font on my thing is kind of a DuckTales font on the little. When I change it, it's like I'm going to go with a little DuckTales. But well, I love it. I totally appreciate you taking the time. And for anyone who, speaking of Twitter and speaking of connecting globally, digitally, how could somebody connect with you?
Absolutely. So I'm on Twitter, Instagram, at sfecich, SFECICH, on both platforms. You can also check out my site, sfecich.com. I'm always happy to connect with whoever would like to connect with me. Yeah.
Awesome. And your book, EduMagic, is available on your website and... And I'm not even
on Amazon. I mean, 2-day shipping. How much easier can it get?
How about that? Well, I'm definitely going to be picking that up, awesome. And I totally appreciate it. And before we go, I usually make jokes about thanks for listening, Mom and Dad, and things like that. But I do need to give a shout out to a couple people. Sean Wisely, thank you, buddy. You are a loyal listener, and I forgot you last time, and I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget. Sean, thank you, my friend. I appreciate you listening. And Pam Hernandez, thank you for listening. I appreciate your support. And for everybody else who I have forgotten about, Mom and Dad, haven't forgotten about you. Thank you for listening. Corey Orlando, John Ike, thank you for listening. If you haven't yet subscribed, be sure to subscribe. Remember, we're in iTunes, Google Play. We're on Spotify now. Or you can listen straight on BrentColey.com. And until next time, Sam, thank you so much once again. And to everyone, you got it. Thanks for listening, everyone. Till next time, have a good one.